Okay, right on, right on. Here we go. Boop. And boop. We'll put that up for a split second and everything like that. So, very first 3 episodes of Erased. So hopefully everyone who is here or anything like that, who actually watched the first 3 episodes, as the big thing. It's like, can't have an intro or anime or anything like that unless we get some actual discussions for it. It's like, come on, speak up, speak up. Actually gotta have some people who, actually watch the thing. I gave you guys about 2 weeks. Something. Anything. Really, really? Like, no one did anything? Okay, cool. At least Tokyo. At least Tokyo. Like, seriously, 2 weeks. Okie dokie. So, bullet points or anything like that, Tokyo. How'd you like it? You gonna keep watching it and stuff like that? Do you want to continue? Literally 12 episodes. Do you see anything? Do you like any points or anything like that before I start talking about all my notes and like other little bullet points and things that I like about the show? Sorry, I didn't. 2 weeks, Bob. 2 weeks. I literally watched it twice. I mean, it was still good. But yeah, like, I watched it twice. Twice subbed and dubbed so I can make sure you guys were getting exactly what you want. I mean, oh crud, I didn't even mess with that one. It's like yay for anime, but seriously, this is why I'm starting the show. Like, here, I should totally edit that while I'm actually right on it. Let me do that really quick. Boop. Let me fix that. Since I'm using Akko from stinking, a little bit bigger. Akko from, Little Witch, My Little Witch Academia. Here, a little bit bigger. I wonder why this one didn't save. I know I edited this one. Oh well. What's done is done. There we go. Yeah, I continue to watch it. Dude, it gets super good, and I do like that the series actually, builds itself, and you can actually figure out a lot of it. It's not like one of those impossible animes where literally, well, even TV shows where it's more detective style, where even though it's like, oh, you should have totally been able to decipher this, it's like we weren't given all the information, so there was no way possible. But that's pretty much my 2 cents, on the whole issue. But I digress. Oop, wrong button. Okie dokie, so one thing that I definitely noticed that really sucked with like the sub versus dub thing was it's usually a big thing that happens anyway, is kind of mispronunciations of names. So like Satoru, in the dub they call it Satoru. Should I watch it? That's the point of the show, Bob. It's the point. It's the point of the show of doing the anime review, and why I put so many hours into doing this. Because anime's awesome. It's kick-ass. It's worth watching. And I did all the research and why we did the whole voting thing for this, man. This is like months down the line. And this is like, we're going to go into spoiler territories, which I should put a badge on this too. Thanks for the host, Darkseeker. Welcome in, amigo. Ugh. I knew I was going to be talking a lot, so I got some apple juice. Welcome. Okie dokie. So, spoiler territory. Super spoiler territory and stuff like that. But if you if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. This is going to be talking about a lot of stuff that happened in the episodes. I'm going off my notes. If something comes up, Tokyo's the only one who watched it. Maybe anyone else who did watch it. Maybe Dark watched the first hour. I don't have Discord alerts on. Well, I've been talking about it. It's been on the alert for the stream. Okay, so hello, Dark. Hello. Okie dokie. First episode. Love that it starts out without spelling out that Satoru is at a dead end facing a mental block that affects everything with his work while giving it naturally. Super nice. He's a manga artist, aka, mangaka. Other than that, his coworker Airi treats him as an equal, even though she is 17, and he is in the anime 29. Yeah, I wrote that down. Other than that, when they actually introduce the whole mechanics of the show, revival, blue butterflies to show off the supernatural, and of course a sound cue for activation, so it always gives you like an incentive whenever it happens or anything like that. I absolutely love what they do with the very first part, where literally like it kicks on and then Satoru actually brings it up and everything like that. It's like, oh yeah, this information's that someone's about to die or anything like that, and he actually changes it. And then revival being he goes back about like 10 to 15 seconds, and whatever problem is going to happen or anything like that, he can pretty much solve it, and he's the only one that's aware of it. Other than that, excellent sound design to deepen senses and to add drama in the build-up. Soft monotones and monochrome whenever the flashback happens, as well as they won't even show like earlier character faces or audio when he has a flashback to his childhood because he thinks he's about to die in the first episode. When he flips over the other car as they come to a head-on collision because he saves a little kid's life because the driver in a truck had a heart attack and died behind the wheel. And then just little keynotes of like what plot are going to happen in the future, like Hayo's, striking red code and Avery's voices connecting when Satoru is woken. Small discussion heart to heart about dreams. Lights small fire within Satoru, along with hinting at a deepening relationship with Avery. Satoru explaining how revival works. Maybe I'll even bring up the clip for that because it's pretty damn good. Here, maybe I'll do that. Give me just this sec. The show is always gonna have some growing pains, and it's like doing this live, I can't really be showing like too many scenes, especially if I'm gonna be uploading it to YouTube. If anything, I might not even be able to do this since I didn't start hitting record, but maybe I should start doing that now. You know what? What's done is done. I'm not gonna worry about it. Okay, let's bring up that page really quick. Oh god. Okie dokie. Hopefully, like, erased Satoru revival explanation. I don't need someone else's explanation on it themselves. I just need like the actual scene. Oh, come on. Oh, I can't even... Yeah, no one else looked up this information because there's so many spoilers for, like, other stuff that happens. It's just like, Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah, I won't worry about that right now. Jesus Christ. Yeah, seriously, you do not want to, look this up. It is, like, endless spoilers. It is, like, super endless spoilers. Okay, something to know for the future. Jesus Christ. Okie dokie. Right back over. So, at least... let's see what we could do. So, intro for Satoru's mom. Natural City was in an accident, of course, because she comes to visit him after he gets out of the hospital. Because he was knocked out for 2 days after his accident. A very natural mother-son relationship without pushing explanations. That's always what this show is really good for, though. That it would do everything extremely naturally. Even the first 3 episodes of explaining things, not feeling like it's forced, like they're overly explaining the show. Some animes, kind of like Black Clover, have that problem where, like, no one would explain very basic things just out of the middle of nowhere. For, like, Satoru, it's like, well, he explains revival because he's just waking up, and he's like, well, this is what happens, and this is, like, an ability I've had since I was a little kid, that I can go back a few seconds and stop a major accident. Sometimes I get hurt because of it, because I saved someone's life. But in, like, shows like Black Clover, they're just like, oh, magic's everything, It's unheard of that no one has magic. It's like a little kid telling the main character that. It's like, who does that in regular things? Like, that'd be like me going up to Tokyo and be like, I don't know, like, the internet is the greatest thing of all time. Like, if you don't know what you're doing on the internet, it's like you're not keeping up with modern times. And it's just like, what? Who? What? Like, no one does that just out of nowhere. But that's my 2 cents on that, So, let's see, of course, just showing off the relationship of how the cute banter between mother and son goes. Natural intro at hinting at major conflict, i.e. TV, like day-to-day intro would be, which is them basically talking about kidnapping cases and kind of what the main plot of Erased is, of finding out that there's actually been someone that's been murdering little kids in waves for the past, like 20 or so odd years. And it was just on cable, and it brings the main conflict kind of like to bear naturally without like necessarily saying it right off the get-go. Amazing use of clock ticks and scene flashbacks to show hazy memory and trying to recall. Of course, holes exist because of time and your own memory, granted existence for the characters. The rules and sound cues of revival, making you look for clues before Satoru even realizes. In the sub, he calls his mom a yokai, which is basically just Japanese for monster. In dub, he calls her a witch, because she practically looks like his mom looks like his sister, and she hasn't like practically aged. Big plot hole. Okay, big spoiler. Big spoiler if anyone hasn't watched the thing. So in the very first episode, Satoru and his mom are grabbing ingredients for curry, and actually, was it curry right off the get-go? Yes, it was curry, and they're at a shopping mall, and they actually are, like, off to the side. You notice that Satoru's mom actually notices after he pops up with a revival. He couldn't figure out that it was an child abduction, but his mom did. And the killer, the abductor / killer, saw her, and it was actually the same guy from the past, the killer. And sad enough, he actually tracks her down to Satoru's place and goes through the front door and stabs her to death. So, a huge plot hole, which I kind of put, which, Satoru was kind of, like, they couldn't not maybe shown the passage of time or anything like that, but, that's a big old whatever or anything like that. But the cop, his neighbors call and show up and everything like that. Yeah. Let's see, what else? Other than that, just basic plot holes and stuff like that, so other stuff doesn't pop up. Just kind of very, very basic things in the show, so you're not questioning how plot holes come up and stuff like that, like why Airi would see Satoru later or anything like that. But I digress here. Let's go right into... Since I posted it on Discord, I could show you the opening of the show at least. I should be able to just pop that in really quick. Because there's like tons of symbolism in the first episode and stuff like that, and it's just like remarkable. It's actually This is honestly one of my favorite openings of any anime of all time, especially like with the band that's playing Asian Kung Fu Generation. Like, they've been in the game for a long ass time doing anime like intros. They've been popular and been rocking it since like I have it written down. It's from '96, and it's just like, Jesus Christ. It's like, seriously. Let's see. Let's bring that up. Oh, it'd actually totally help if I had the background music going, so we get a little bit of nice nuance behind me talking. I forgot to turn it on. Here, what would be the easiest way to do this? Okay, let's not do the Streamlabs. Let's do the Discord since I have it all there. Pretty please? Okay, I guess not. Here, let's get rid of that then. Boop! Of course, there's going to be growing pains with this and ways that I could do this. So far, it's kind of challenging to do a live reaction show, but, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully, if we get enough people in here, that it won't be as much of an issue. Oh, hey, GMA. Hello, hello. Taking a mini break is all you thought. Yeah. No problem, dude. Yeah. It's working. It's a little rough, but, yeah. I'm watching the anime right now. Yeah. Well, I'm about to show off the opening of this. I'm just trying to think of the best way to do it. And I'll pause it quite a bit when I'm doing it up as well. Here, if I could actually do this, if I do a transition and I had a clip show and I just turn off my screen to it, there we go. Perfect. That'll actually work beautifully. And if I just click into from what I have on Discord, I can read it off, and I could also do bullet points and stuff like that. Perfect. That'll actually work beautifully. Okay, so we'll go with the opening first. Pause that really quick. Alright, have an amazing time. I'll see if I can catch the video later. Yeah. No issue. Thanks again, GMA, for stopping in. Hopefully this whole thing will pop up really well. Here, we'll full screen it. Okie dokie, this will work beautifully. So we'll transition really quick. Let me do this. And let me transition over. Perfect. First opening, of course, you know, the name for the anime is actually a little bit different in Japan. For English, it's called Erased, but in Japan, it's, you know, Boku Gai, you know, Machi, which is translated to the City Without Me, which goes back to the very, I think it was the second episode? Yeah, it's the second episode where it's actually Kaio's kind of the main girl, one of the main girl protagonists, her essay on how, like, lonely she is in the world and how she just wants to get away. Okie dokie. So even how Satoru at Satoru age 29 right here and everything like that, you see the opening on the second episode. They usually do this a lot in Japan where they won't show the opening the first time, so you can kind of fully absorb yourself into the show, and it's kind of like a whole movie pitch kind of a thing. But this opening has so much damn symbolism. It's like, it's not even funny. Like, it's basically how Satoru kind of sees the world and stuff like that, and also how he copes and deals with everything. So he goes to sit down at a movie theater and stuff like that right here, and then his kid self which, spoiler, when his mom gets killed, he jumps back the farthest he ever has in Revival, all the way back to when the first kidnappings and murders were happening, which you find out was when he was a little kid, and it was with his 3 friends, and it was with Kaio, Hitomi, and another girl he doesn't know, and him realizing, like, oh my god, the Revival's, like, it's the same person, like, so it's someone that's clicks in from all this time ago, which is just like, what, you know, it's a huge revelation. So it's basically him watching from the outside, his younger person, you know, his younger person, okay, so his friends and everything like that, his teacher, basic, you know, elementary school stuff, well, middle school I should say, early middle school. But yeah, him playing with his friends as a little kid and everything like that, and then it goes to the window where he's remembering it fondly, and then a literal and metaphorical wave of just craziness and how he interprets Revival, and then all the people that are almost culprits, almost behind even in the film reel as like a police lineup, and then his mom, Airi, and Kaio. Oop, let me bring that back up. So basically, the three women in his life that are most supporting, you see Satoru kind of being contemplative, and then you literally see the killer for a quick second, and it's just Satoru constantly in thought and being conflicted, and just Clock seeing the person who was blamed for it, who wasn't the killer, and just all the turmoil, and Satoru taking the steps to change and everything like that. Just all the symbolism. What's really crazy is right here is they've thrown so many clues and so many things to, like, say, like, oh, you know, it's like, is it, you know, is this killer, is this the killer, and stuff like that. If you could pause it between a quick second right here, you could literally see when Satoru's glasses break, that you could see the killer again, but it's so damn quick that it's, like, almost impossible even off of pausing off YouTube. And then back to basically in 1988 when he was a kid and everything like that, when it first starts, and then of course the Japanese name right there, but yeah, erased. And then neither version of Satoru basically being here, saying that he's actually in the story instead of being an observer and trying to make a difference, which is just like, god, that's so much symbolism. Like, that's ridiculous to go to that many odds to you know, that many things to basically show off, like, yeah, this is the story, and this is that, and this is how the show is. Like, it almost wraps up everything just in an opening. Okay, one of the great things about this show, let me switch it back over, is the simple fact that, usually a big problem that anime has is having too big of a wrap-up if it's, like, too much of a serialization thing. So, like, Bleach or Naruto, like, kind of the big stage versions, they literally have, like, a wrap-up of, like, the last episode for almost 10 minutes. And it's just like, okay, that means that there's only, like, 5 to 10 minutes of, like, new content, because it's like, you gotta think the opening, the ending, and then it's like, then a wrap-up of what happened last time, and then they might even at the end of the episode do a whole little thing of, like, it's like, you know, it's like, oh, next time on the next episode and stuff like that. It's like, seriously? Like, why would you do such a thing? This one's, like, really good where it just gets to the heart of it. It's like, it's always under a minute. I literally timed every single one for when I watched it. So, first time seeing the OP, a lot of symbolism. I already wrote down all the notes and I already hit past that. Film cuts, how he sees Revival and stuff like that, how he actually sees it like a reel basically in his head. One thing that really tripped me out with the first episode was when he didn't even realize that he went back with Revival, that he's still thinking like with the same voice basically that he was when he was 29, but when he realizes he's a kid again, it switches over and just like, damn, that sounds awesome. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, so if you're new to anime or anything like that, one of the crazy things with, you start to get like a handle on like some of the voice actors and stuff like that. I didn't get into too much depth because I realized a lot of people are newer into anime and whatnot, so I was like, let's not overload them. But which was, you know, really cool for this is Asian Kung Fu Generation, like I said, has been around since like the 96 when they first became a band. But they really started getting popular enough to be in anime intros that the three that like are super popular, of course. Like, what's really crazy is they're popular enough to the point where almost like every single mainstay anime of around that time and even today are still stinking so fantastic that they're like the quintessential, that's the opening, that's the best opening of that show. That's like the greatest version. That's what sums up the show and stuff like that. That's like got the best animation. That's got the best music. So the original Full Metal Alchemist, the fourth opening, they did, and it was Rewrite. One of my favorite songs of all time, just in general. They did one of the things for Bleach, and that was After Dark. It's okay. And then they were also in one of the best opening, like the quintessential great opening for Naruto, which was the second one, which is I can't even talk. Uraku Kanata, and it was just like, Jesus Christ, like, these are ridiculous openings, like, they're the best. Of course, saying with the anime that the timeline is very solid, that it's like, okay, so he's 29, so it's, in the story, he's, it's 2006, if I'm not mistaken. The guy who got taken to prison, Yuki, which was basically a 23-year-old who watched out for the kids, and they blamed him for everything, which is a real shame. He wasn't guilty, but he got sentenced to death row. You know, it gives us an accurate timeline of, like, oh, when Satoru goes back to the past in 1988 and stuff like that, that he sees Yuki again, but that doesn't happen to the third episode. But even as a kid, the first time he went through it, he realized, yeah, Yuki's not guilty. And it's just sad, like, how much storytelling this, like, series will do. Not even saying anything, but just showing, like, character stills and stuff like that of, like, how Yuki used to look and how he was cheerful and he would kind of stutter and, like, really look out for the kids. And then when he was in prison, death row, that you could see just how horrible and, like, decrepit and, like, yeah, Yuki's a good man. Yeah, it's really sad. Yuki got burned. He is a fantastic person. He, like, it's more apparent in episode 3 how good of a person he is, like, now that Satoru's, you know, his 29-year-old back in a kid, basically, like, realizing, like, yeah, Yuki's an amazing person. It's like, oh yeah, he looked out for the kids because he got up so dang early that he couldn't really hang out with his friends. So he watched out for the kids, and he always, like, tried to, like, treat all the little kids as a equal, and if, like, someone was off on their own, he would hang out with them and stuff like that. Like, an absolute just gem of a person. It was just, it's so sad that they blamed him for everything and put him on death row. It's just like, wow, it's sad. I do not even have a character thing for that. Like, tears for Yuki, dude. Like, oh, this show is just sad at parts. It's like Yuki, it's just, oh. Okay, What really made me sad, too, is on the very beginning of episode 2, of course, when Satoru jumps back to the past, and he's like, his mind's catching up with everything like that. He's like, oh my god, the last time I saw my mom, she was dead in it, and I got blamed for the murder. So he runs home, he goes sees his mom, and he's like, oh right, she's at work, and he just knocks out on the, he just falls asleep in his house, like, over all the stress and everything like that, and he wakes up, and he sees his mom, and he just starts crying, and it's just like, oh, dude. And, oh, that just, it breaks my heart, because it's just like, yeah, the last time he saw her, she was dead on the ground in his apartment. The killer got to her, and it's just like, oh my god. And it's just nice little moments like that and everything like that. Okay, great attention to detail in the show, of course. Like, they bring up, like, all the kids are talking about, like, video games and stuff like that, and it's literally video games of that time, and sub and dub version, like, the sub will say Famicom for Nintendo, and they'll literally say like, I actually no, they say Famicom, which actually threw me off in the dub. I was like, they weren't really gonna say Nintendo. It's like it's 3 syllables. It matches up the lip sync, but you know, I digress for that. So yeah, the sad truths about being naive when a child is blissfully unaware to what to look for. So like Satoru, you know, having the mind of like a 29-year-old and stuff like that in this kid's body, looks over and notices that Kaio, because it's like, oh right, she gets abducted and stuff like that, I could probably stop that. Noticing she has big like bruises along her body and stuff like that, in like little strategic places where they can't really be seen, like, you know, partially on her thigh and whatnot, that she's actually getting abused at home, and it's just like, oh damn, you know, as a kid I didn't, you know, I never put that together. Yeah, they mentioned Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, they mentioned, yeah, they mentioned some, like, some little name drops. It was, like, really nice. Like, actual games that were out. It's, like, the attention to detail in the show is hilarious. And they even, like, make it a plot point. That it's like, oh, yeah, it's like, one of their friends is like, dude, I can't talk with you guys. Like, we're not all playing Dragon Quest. It's like, well, he likes Final Fantasy. You like shooters. And it's like, and the main character, he doesn't even have a console. And they're just like, well, we like whatever. I like that. The smart kid in their group, Khemia. Okay, what else? Yeah, feel free, like, when I'm talking about this stuff and whatnot, it's like, this is a group discussion, guys. This is why I'm doing this live and whatnot. It's like, you know, feel free to jump right on in. Because I'm looking at the chat, I'm doing all that stuff and whatnot. It's like, feel free to be right up in this. Like, this is why we're doing it live instead of, like, how a YouTube thing would be, and I could have it more edited. Like, be part of the discussion. It's all good. This is what it's for. This is fun. Okay. So, Khemia being extremely smart and observant for his age. The kid is extremely smart. One thing that I didn't like that they expand on in the live action version of this anime, totally go watch that. This is the weird one exception to live action being just as good, if not better, than the anime. The anime is shot better. I will give it that. But it goes a little bit more in depth on stuff like that. You actually find out that Kenya's father is a lawyer, and that's what Khemia wants to be, so that's why he, you know, he was raised in a family that was, you know, pretty above average for, like, some of the stuff, but yeah, I digress. One thing I absolutely love about this show is it shows a real accurate depiction of, like, kids being much smarter than adults give them credit for and stuff like that. Much more observant, much more understanding. I mean, kids could still be brutal, though, and that's what comes up later that I'm definitely going to say, I think, in what was episode 2 or 3. We're in the synopsis of 2 right now. Okay, and then, one thing I love about this series is that the use of shots showing distance, barriers, obstacles literally in between characters hide and bond. So, like, one of the best shots that are absolutely taken in this is Kaio's in the park all by herself, and Satoru comes up to her, and, like, literally they're using light and shading, and literally, like, right when Satoru comes up to Kaio, there's literally a tree blocking them, like, in conversation, and also it's, like, an emotional wall in between them, and as they're talking, and as he's, like, breaking down those boundaries in between them, like, the shots keep changing that you can see. It's like, oh, he takes a step forward, and it's like, well, they're growing closer and closer, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, it's just shot so, like, it's not just dialogue, and that's what a lot of people, like, get confused in some of these shows and whatnot, that shows the story, the, like, character movement, expressions, how it's even shot will also be, you know, like, add to the situation and stuff like that. And then Khemia gives Satoru a huge clue that you should read Kaio's essay, and this is where the title for the Japanese version, the original title, pops up. I believe it was the City Without Me, and it's just basically like a cry for help because she's at the end of her rope, because she's just getting abused at home to the point where it's just like she's got these massive bruises and she doesn't know love, and it comes up way later, and it's just heartbreaking, like the horrible treatment that Kaio gets at home and stuff like that, and she doesn't have friends, and people think she's weird just because she's withdrawn, because she doesn't know love. She's so damn abused, it's not even funny. Yeah, it's so sad. It's, oh god, it's horrible. Okay, let's see. His mom being super observant and stuff like that. Satoru starts taking steps to try to save everyone and whatnot. That he's like, this is gonna be my mission. I think this is the reason why, and this could save my mother and everything like that. I'm gonna save Caillou. I'm gonna save Hitomi. I'm gonna save, you know, everyone else. That he's like, hey, my birthday's like in a few days. It's like, I'm gonna invite everyone. We could all be friends and stuff like that to my house for a birthday party. And his mom is just so ridiculously observant that she's just like, right before they go to sleep, she's like, did you say 5 friends? You only have 4. It's like, did you get a girlfriend? He's just like, and it plays back the joke. He's like, you damn witch. Like, thinking in his head, like, how the hell are you that stinking observant that you realize that it's like I invited a girl or anything like that. Okay, there's the one scene. I would love to play it, but I think I'm right on the edge of, like, I don't want to play it up too much, that, you know, and everything like that, for showing off the great scene between Caillou and Satoru in the park, because it's just the conversation back and forth, and oh my god, it's too much, it's too good. Okay, the first time seeing the ED, it's very surrealist and stuff like that, but the lyrics are like dead on to the plot. That was actually one thing that I didn't bring up. I actually wrote down the lyrics, because, you know, of course most people can't, practically all people, you know, watching dubbed anime and stuff like that don't understand Japanese and stuff like that, so I could bring up the Discord and I could read those off really quick. But yeah, like, my interpretation of it and stuff like that for lyrical wise is 100% behind Satoru and stuff like that. He's like, I waited for you, I waited for you. It's talking about, like, him viewing everything from as a kid, how it kind of slows him down and stops him and gives him like a mental block in his life, that he doesn't want to forget all these people and whatnot, and it stops him from opening up. Like, it's the whole song's like basically Satoru, his interpretation, and like how it's, you know, held him back from life and he should have done something. And then the ED, I would say, is like the interpretation of Satoru and Kaio as kids. That how they felt they were gonna be when they were a kid, and, you know, how it kind of is. But, you know, Kaio didn't get to experience that because, of course, she died, which is just terrible, terrible. But yeah, we'll do the same thing, and we'll show off the ED, and then I'll go into the third episode, and then we'll talk shop and say what we liked and little scenes here and there, and then what to expect, and do some guessing. I don't want to go into too spoiler territory, because this is a show that, you know, huge spoiler, like, you know, who is the killer and what is happening, why are they doing this, and stuff like that. But yeah, just, it's one of those scenarios. But here, let me bring that up really quick. I could bring up the ED, and then we'll watch that. Here, let me transfer it back over. So yeah, it's just Satoru walking, and then kind of like the landscape in the background of their town. I should have wrote down what town they're from. I don't even remember. You know, of course it's one of the suburbs and stuff like that. Oh, Tokyo said something. I hate the girl who tries to frame Kaio. Oh, third episode, dude. Yeah. Yeah, she's an ass. I wrote down like 3 or 4 things about her. But yeah, it's just stills of like the town, and then you see flashes of like the 3 girls. But yeah, it's very surrealist, where it's just you know, like kind of escaping and leaving and ethereal, and then seeing butterflies, which is kind of like almost a representation of Satoru's power as well. And then yeah, seeing Satoru on top of the bus, that becomes more of a plot point later. Like I said, there's lots of little like hints and things that like where the story goes. And then just Caillou walking in the snow. because it's, you know, the end of February, it's the winter over in Japan, so it's, you know, cold and harsh. And then the tree, and then Yuki's airplanes that he makes all the time to try to cheer up the kids and stuff like that in the area. God, Yuki is a gift. Like, it's not even a joke. Yuki is a gift. That dude got done dirty. That dude got done super dirty. Like, to get accused of all that, just, it's not right. It's super not right. Like, Jesus Christ. Okay, so one of the crazy things too is you can actually guess before it happens and stuff like that. That if you put the clues together, that you can actually find out that Kaio's birthday is actually on the same day as Satoru's. And just by little context clues and stuff like that, and then her already like thinking of like, oh, it comes up like birthday presents. I don't want to give it away, but like what she could give him and stuff like that. But let's see. Yeah, one thing I love about the story is that there are no unbelievable jumps of logic, and given the clues, you can put things together yourself. Like I said, the birthday before the reveal. Show reveals with time, travel, and the knowledge with it. You're still the same person, so it's basically the race that they even show it works the exact same way that it did when Satoru was a kid. Now, one thing this is like the biggest change I've seen so far in the sub versus the dub, whichever way you watched it, was the sub did this much better, and it was a bigger reason why Kaio got mad at Satoru, because they told each other like, well, Kaio's like, I'm gonna trust you, you're looking out for me, but I don't trust people because like my mother abuses me and stuff like that, so don't lie to me. And like he made that promise, like, I won't lie to you. And he's gonna race a kid that's like extremely good at, like, they won the all-state in hockey, and they're gonna race, and he's actually faster than him. Satoru's like racing on his ice skates. He's like, well, this kid worked his ass off, like, I'm gonna give him the win. But before they started racing, he told Kaio, I'm gonna race as fast as possible. Now, this is the change that they made in the sub versus the dub. The sub, they say, he's like, oh, I'm gonna race as fast as as I possibly can, no worries, and stuff like that. In the dub, they change it, and it makes no damn sense. They say, he's like, I think I can win. It's like, I'm gonna try, like, he doesn't even say I'm gonna try. He's like, like the girls are like teasing and stuff like that, like, oh, you like each other because you're always hanging out now, and it's like, wish him luck. And Kaio's like, do you think you got this? He's like, I think I could do it. And yeah, it bugs me that like literally after the race, like, she gets mad at him, and it's like, well, it makes sense in the sub, not the dub. Like, the sub, it's like he promised to go fast and he lets the dude win, but in the thing, it's just like, well, he didn't promise. Like, it's a gripe of mine. And like the kid yelling at him too, he's like, I hate people like you that, like, instead of it, like, the kid just freaking out and being like, I hate you, because we were so close to, I've almost lost. It's just like, it's not as good writing. But yeah, I digress. Satoru finally, Oh yeah, Satoru learns the B-Day by talking to his teacher and stuff like that, and that introduces his teacher. And you could already see, like, the building blocks of him being, like, almost a father figure to Satoru, because he's in a single family, just his mom raising him, his father left. They never go into facts with that or anything like that, but it just kind of like whisks into the story that it's just like, oh, he's not in the picture. Okay, and then Yuki's finally introduced to the story, and like Satoru could see him through the eyes of his 29-year-old self, and him realizing, like, yeah, Yuki's a great guy. He invites him to his room, and he's like, oh, that's happening, and Satoru's like, Kaio, right? He's like, oh yeah, I look out for her. It's like, but like, it's like she's always alone and like seems, always sad and distant and stuff like that. He's trying to get insight on her, and he learns more about, oh, it's like Yuki was like employed, and that's why he looked out for kids, because like he had time off in the afternoon, so he couldn't really do anything else, and he would even go out of his way to like speak in a way that was easy for kids and to give them great advice for just basically growing up and watching out for him. And then them showing, like, the skip, like, really quick, just showing, like, oh my god, like, you know, how Yuki looked in present day, and he's just like, all the life is zapped out of him, and Satoru says it's like, oh yeah, even on that day he kept saying that he was innocent. He always pleaded innocent. And it was just, oh, it's heartbreaking, like seeing the life of Yuki and like past versus what it was in the present. Just oh. And then just to make sure, because like Satoru's like, well, remembering from what he saw from the cold case files and stuff like that for the 3 deaths and stuff like that, since Kaio was the first on the list, he goes to her house to figure out, you know, oh, is she okay and stuff like that. And this scene is just, it's heartbreaking. It's super heartbreaking. I can't begin to describe. He goes to her house and he sees Kaio's backpack and all her stuff littered across the snow-covered ground, and then the shed, and he opens it up and she's just battered all to hell because her mom beat her, like face and everything. She's swollen, and seeing Kaio just crying there in like a white dress, like almost like it is basically a representation of just innocence just shattered and stuff like that, and all her mental walls, and she's like, please close the door, and she's just bawling. Oh, it's just sad. And then her mom grabbing her and being like, oh no, it's like, why are you crying out here? It's like, come, you know, get inside and everything like that, only worrying about outward appearances and being called a bad mother, even though she doesn't want to take care of her. And it's just like, it's heartbreaking. It's, oh god, the writing in this, it's like, it's a very mature show, but it's just like, god. And then let's see, other little things, some you know, if you're not used to Japanese culture and whatnot, some little things pop up and stuff like that, like in the late 80s, 90s and stuff like that, they didn't have like central air in a lot of their schools, so they actually have a water stove in the back of the classroom and stuff like that. And a very Japanese thing is to have kids learn more discipline by and like taking care of things by actually having them do more, like what we would see in the States and stuff like that. People hire the school like janitors and stuff like that, so you know, the kids like in some of the schools will actually make the lunches as well. And you kind of see that at this part, while the school reps, which it's Satoru and Kaio for the little part, are collecting all the money for all the lunches and stuff like that. And then there's a whole altercation with what Tokyo was talking about, that one of the girls is just gonna be an ass to Kaio, and she tries to frame her by having it seem like she stole the money and stuff like that, and she takes the money from Satoru's desk and puts it in her backpack, and it's just like, wow. Like, yeah. Just, yeah. And what's really funny is, like, I literally wrote right before that, not even remembering, it's like, real reasons why adults don't tell kids the harsh truths, the further paying kids, not because they don't care, but kids are cruel and don't understand at times. And it's like, yep, literal example with Hannah right after. Because he goes to the teacher, he's like, hey, are you doing anything? Are you noticing this, that Kaio's getting abused? And this part they do a little bit better in the dub versus the sub. Like, the teacher asks him in the dub, like, oh, it's like, well, what do you see and stuff like that. In the sub, it's like, oh, he realizes, he's just like, oh yeah, it's like Kaio comes in late all the time on Mondays because she's still recovering from her bruises and stuff like that from Friday. And then in the dub, it's like, well, why do you think she's coming in late and stuff like that? And Satoru's like, yeah, because because her mom beats her. It's subtle little changes like that it's just like, well, that makes better writing, and that makes, better writing. Just the tone that they take with the show, man, is just, it's so damn good. Like, really stating like how a lot of these things would actually happen and stuff like that, and being believable, and having three-dimensional characters, and not just being like, oh, this person's good and this person's bad. It's just one of those things that's just like, wow. So I digress. Okay, let's go. then Kyle literally, Satoru and Khemia, like, defend Kyle right off the gate, like, oh yeah, Satoru's like, yeah, she would never do that and stuff like that, and the teacher has his back, like, dude, she was a lunch rep, like, it's not weird that she would have the money. And then Khemia telling, saying, like, it's like anyone could have planted the money, it's like, it's nothing. And then, yeah, Kaio tells Satoru, it's like, oh, why, like, Hannah has this grudge. It's, like, literally over a pencil, which is just, like, yeah, that's a kid thing, because they've never had grudges. Like, she made fun of, Kaio being, like, poor and having, like, cheap pencils, so Kaio threw away the girl's, like, mechanical pencil, and she's like, yeah, and she's had a grudge on me ever since, and she's just a dick. It's like, that's it? Like, that's the petty reason? Like, seriously? And then, let's see. Then, from that little interaction and stuff like that, Satoru remembers and tries to give Kaio a reason for hope and stuff like that. He takes her, he's like, well, you want to see a Christmas tree? After, like, her saying, like, oh yeah, she was also petty and, like, inviting me to her house so she could show off her Christmas tree and stuff. That sparks a thought in Satoru's head. It's like, oh right, I could show her that cool thing that I did, like, when I was a kid. And, oh right, it was actually on this day. So they go up to the mountains, and it's a nice little cute moment where they just, he shows her, like, a special thing that he saw as a kid, which is now. And he's like, well, we could see this again, at the end of the year, which is just such a beautiful thing that Satoru does for her, trying to give her hope, to something to look forward to. Okay, I already said all that, and wow, yeah, that's all 3 episodes. Okay, the style will change a little bit. It took me a little bit to really get into how to phrase everything and whatnot, but hopefully that was a good thing. I don't know how long we went. I literally didn't time it. Wow, was that like an hour? That was like an hour. Dude, we did it. We did it. It took a while, but we did it. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, I got some better ideas on how to do this in the future, but yeah, that's the very first anime review show. If anyone wants to chime in with anything, things that they're going to look forward to in the next 3 episodes that we're going to do, another 2 weeks, let me check on my calendar to see what day that exactly is. Hopefully this episode I'll post up on YouTube tomorrow after a little bit of editing. Wow, April 13th, that's funny. Yeah, but yeah, I got a better solid idea of how I could do this a little bit better, and thank you for, doing everything like that. The main character's mom reminds me of Kylie Jenner's because of her lips. Oh, the puffy lips. I like Sachiko more. Satoru's mom. She is awesome, and it's literally funny how even like 18 years in the future, because that's like the big jump of when Satoru goes back in time and stuff like that, that she looks practically the same, like she hasn't aged, and that's why the whole recurring joke of she's a witch, aka she's a yokai, kind of pops up. It's like, damn, it's like, really? Even Irie, the one girl that was like, his co-worker and stuff like that at the pizza place, like, was like, I thought that was your sister. It's like, yeah. Yeah, Irie makes a bigger, I like how it jumps back and forth between, like, Satoru remembering something from the future, and it hints that, you're gonna see more of, like, the future stuff, so of course, like, Satoru's probably gonna jump back and stuff like that. Little clues, and Irie becomes, like, a bigger character and stuff like that, because she respected Satoru, but it's like, well, how are they setting that up and whatnot, and like, some of the things she said, like, oh yeah, keeping, like, it's like, it's fine saying your dream out to people and stuff like that, because if you keep saying it, like, and you keep believing, like, that it could eventually come true, and it, like, comes back in the past of, Kaio saying that to Satoru, it's like, well, if I keep saying, like, this could happen and stuff like that, it's, it could come true, to keep hope. Just little things like that. But yeah, hopefully, if you guys got anything to add for the next 3 episodes, what things you're looking out for, maybe thinking who the killer is or anything like that, or where you think the plot's gonna go, I still absolutely suggest you watch when we finish this or even get close to it to watch the live action of Erased on Netflix, because it is fantastic. Because they kind of wrap up the ending a little bit quick for the anime, and it's not super great, and some people had an issue of it, but the live action does a much better job with the ending, which is like my big thing of like pushing the live action. You also get some really cooler moments for like the climax at the end too, which is like, oh, it wraps it up so damn well. It's so cool. But other than that, I think we are good, and I have done too much talking for a literal hour, so I think we're gonna call it right there. So, yippee, 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 yippee. I'm glad we finally did it. Other than that, hopefully, look on YouTube. I'll edit this a tiny bit, and the next episode in 2 weeks, 2 weeks, next 3 episodes will be a little bit better. Other than that, everyone take care, farewell, hopefully I'll see you around, and if you have any questions or anything like that, just go on the Discord or catch me when I'm streaming on something else, and, feel free.